All right. What is happening, everyone? We're here. Performer's Dream. Welcome to the first official episode of what I am calling Performer's Dream. My name is Ty Gallenbeck. I am a full time magician in Telluride, Colorado. And I decided to launch this Performer's Dream mostly selfishly because I wanted to, one, learn from other people. Some of my favorite moments and things that have taught me the most through my career over the last 20 years have been from other performers, both inside of magic and especially outside of magic. Getting a different perspective on things has helped immensely over the last few years. And so that's part of the reason I wanted to do this, because I want to learn more and get better at this thing that I get to do for a living. Uh, the second reason I wanted to do this is also somewhat selfish because I wish I would have had this 20 years ago. I wish I would have had a place that I could have gone to hear from people who were living out their dream as a performer, whether that was magic or comedy or music, whatever that is, and to learn from them. And not just, how to do my art better, but the side of things that no one talks about, the business side, the advertising side, the nuts and bolts side of things. And it's that side of things that I think is more important, at least equally important, to being really good at whatever your art is. And so a lot of the focus will be on those kind of behind the scene things that don't get talked about enough, in my opinion. So if you're here, welcome. If you're tuning in live, that's awesome. I don't expect a lot of people at this point, but I hope that people find this. And so if you enjoy this content, if you are someone who is looking to make a living as a performer, please like this, share this with your friends, those kind of things, subscribe. All of that is important. For people to be able to find it, and that's my goal. Is I want people to have this tool to be able to use it to be able to live out their dreams. And in today's day and age, performing takes a lot of different shapes. We're going to have musicians and comedians and magicians and hopefully jugglers, but we're also going to have YouTubers and people, podcasters, and people that are making a living that's still performing. It's just a different look than maybe what you typically think of when you think of a live performer, but it is definitely an avenue that's an option that people dream about. I mean, when I work at elementary schools, that is a career choice that regularly shows up on what you want to do when you grow up is be a YouTuber. And so that's a dream that people have. And so if we can use this to help people be able to live out that dream, I'd be super excited. So if you watched the first little kind of intro video that I did for Performer's Dream, on that video, I said I have been a full-time performer for the last 10 years, which was a complete lie. Apparently, that's not true at all. So I was on another YouTube channel called The Flannel Panel last week, I guess it was, and we started talking about New Year's resolutions. And so I went back and I'm a big resolutions guy. So I was looking back through some of my resolutions and I found my 2012, so 10 years ago, found my resolutions for 2012. And one of those resolutions on that list was to make $10,000 in performing as a magician. And I very, very distinctly remember that I did not reach that goal. And so part of that tells me that I have not been full time as long as I thought. Part of that also tells me that the progress that has been made in the last few years has happened a lot faster than I expected it to, which I hope is encouraging. You can go from not making $10,000 to six figures in less than 10 years. It's doable in a small town. I live in a very small town. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I'm excited about that. So I have some notes over here. So if you see me glancing over here, that's what I'm doing, trying to make sure I don't miss stuff and cover everything I wanted to in this initial episode. So let's dive in. So during Performer's Dream, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about networking, pricing, getting more gigs, self-producing, ticket sales, website designs, finding your niche, authenticity, touring, longevity. We're going to talk about all of these avenues that I think encompass what it takes to make a living as a performer. But tonight, I wanted to just start with what I think is the most important first step if you want to make a living as a performer, to live out your dream. I did not grow up wanting to be a magician by any means. I discovered magic when I was in college, and it was a puzzle that I needed to figure out. My analytical side of my brain just needed to know how it worked. And so that's what I did. I deconstructed it, read some books, saw some videos, figured out how stuff was working. And through that process of handling cards and trying to mimic the moves that I was seeing, I quickly kind of became able to perform magic. And watching my college roommate, shout out to Dave if he ever sees this, watching my college roommate react to what I was doing and seeing the expression, the surprise, the joy, whatever, kind of got me hooked on it as a performance art. And then when I was in college, I also used it a lot to kind of connect with the students that I was working with. I went to school to be a youth pastor at that time. And then I've worked with a lot of kind of after school programs and things like that. And so initially it was a way for me to kind of break down walls with the students that I was working with. So that was something else I was doing. But I never set out for this to be a dream. And so I kind of fell into it. And a lot of the things that I hope to talk about are things that I wish I would have known way sooner in my career. I think I would be further along. I think I would have probably been more successful. I think I would have had a lot less stress in my life had I known some of this stuff sooner. So we're going to talk about all of that. But tonight is just the first step. This past year, one of my resolutions was I wanted to be more inspired creatively. There we go. I wanted to be more inspired. And so I reached out to a handful of friends from all different walks and backgrounds. And I asked them for 2 books and 1 movie that inspired them. And that was all of the qualifications I put on it. And I got a ton of great responses. I think everybody but one person, Curtis, who will be on next week, is the one person who didn't respond. So I will definitely give him crap about that next week. But I got all these different responses from different people. And it was incredible. It was one of my favorite things from the past year, for the different books, the movies, all of those things. Some of them were movies I had seen. Some of them were books that I had read, but it maybe had just been a while. But most of it was new stuff that I had never and would never probably have found without asking that. So if you're looking for a fun new challenge in the new year, I highly recommend texting some friends, texting some people that you trust, and ask them for 2 books and 1 movie that you could go through this year. And don't get crazy with like 20 people or anything like that. Keep it close, tight-knit group of people that you trust for that information. So one of the books that I was recommended was Shoe Dog. And it is the story of how Nike, the shoe company, came to be what it is today. And admittedly, I am a sneakerhead. I have been. I'm not a crazy collector of shoes, but I have a lot of shoes, and I really like shoes. I have an obsession with matching. It's been that way since I was a kid. I always have to match my shoes with my socks, with my hat, to my shirt, all of those kind of things. It is something I've always done. I think that comes from playing baseball my entire life, because in baseball, you always have to match everything you're wearing, right? Baseball is actually the only sport where the coach has to wear the same uniform as the kids. And so when I was a coach for baseball for a lot of years, that was kind of a weird aspect. Like, you have to wear the same uniform and the socks and the shoes, and you wear the same things that your players are wearing. Can you imagine this in any other sport? Like, can you imagine a wrestling coach in a singlet, like bent over, like screaming at the wrestlers, like "Pan Am"? Like, you wouldn't want to see that. Don't imagine that. It's probably not going to be a good shot. So I have this obsession with matching, and shoes is a big part of that. And so I was super excited to read the book Shoe Dog. And it was an incredible book. It was probably my favorite book of the suggestions that I got. It is an incredibly inspirational story about perseverance and creativity, and just a longing to put out something impactful. You listen to the stories about how they created the waffle pattern on the bottom of the shoes, or how they had to switch companies in the middle of producing their shoes, all sorts of stuff. There is some incredible examples of how to pursue your dreams in this book. And so this is it. This is the one step, and it's probably obvious. The most important first step, and I know you're supposed to save the key thing till the end so everybody watches the video, but I hope you stick through this a little. It's the Nike slogan: just do it. If you are getting into performing and thinking about diving into it as a career, my most important first step is just do it. All right, we have someone here. I'm gonna pop this up. Let's see. Oh, all right. I knew I liked you for a reason. I have over 60 pairs of shoes and have to match as well. Amen. Amen. I am definitely on board. I have stopped counting. I know I hit triple digits in hats and shoes in the last few years. So I just stopped because it's bad. So I appreciate that though. And thanks for being tuned in on this. Yeah, it's a fun obsession. Now, I'm gonna grab this because I don't want to mess up this quote. This was my favorite quote from the book Shoe Dog. It said this: "The cowards never started, the weak died along the way, and that leaves us." And I think that mentality is one of the things that makes it is essential to becoming a professional performer. I will not joke or lie to you and tell you this is going to be something that is easy. And even if you watch and partake and develop and do everything that you see in these videos, which you will get an incredible head start on anybody else, it will not be easy. There's nothing easy about trying to live out your dream. But I will tell you, as someone who's been able to do it for the last undetermined number of years, 7 to 9, we're going somewhere in there. I know it's been at least 7, probably closer to 9. It is so worth it to put in the work, to persevere, and keep doing those things. One of my other favorite books that I read every year, at least once a year, is Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. And I should clarify, when I say read, I mean listen to. I have a 2-hour commute to and from my gig every weekend. So I have a total of about 8 hours of drive time every weekend. So I listen to a ton of audiobooks. But Born Standing Up by Steve Martin is one of those books that I will listen to at least once a year. And Steve Martin has a quote that says, "Perseverance is a great substitute for talent." And I know that's true in my world. I watch magicians on Instagram or on YouTube or even live sometimes. And I quickly realized they are far better than me. I have a student that I'm mentoring locally that has far more skills in a lot of ways than I do. He does mnemonica like with his eyes closed, and it's ridiculous. And for me, that's a super big struggle that I've never overcome. Magicians will get that line. But regardless, I'm not the most talented person in the room. Probably not even in the top 10% of magicians in the world. Probably maybe the top 50%. I don't know. I have always considered myself to be one of those people that is above average. Almost at everything I try to do, I consider myself to get to a point where I'm above average. And I don't know if I'm reaching above that currently, but I know I'm there and I stick with it and I keep pushing and I keep trying to get better. And the people that you see that are successful, I know have done that. It's a combination of a lot of things. But perseverance can absolutely be a great substitute for talent. So as you're taking these first steps and you get knocked down and you have to dust yourself off and get back up again over and over and over again, just stick with it. Because if you don't start, you're never going to see this come to fruition. That was the whole reason this video series started. This is an idea I had a couple years ago that I wanted to share knowledge and ask other people that are smarter than me for how to do this stuff and do it well. And I knew if I didn't just take that first step, I wasn't going to do it. So if you're watching this at some point and you're thinking, man, maybe I want to turn this hobby of playing the guitar or take this hobby of writing jokes or doing card tricks and turn it into a career, I say do it. Just start. Figure out what that first step looks like for you. And it may be, I need to learn how to play the guitar, or I need to learn how to sing, or whatever that is. That could be the first step that you're at. But wherever it is, start taking that first step now. All right. What else? I got to make sure I don't miss anything, and I don't want these to be incredibly long by any means. One of the other quotes that is said over and over again in Shoe Dog is "One task clears the mind," which is a perfect quote for this particular video. For me, I have ADHD bad. I can walk back and forth in my house where my office is at and be doing 6 to 7 different tasks. And I will work on one in one room. And then when I need something from the other room, I move to that room. And all of a sudden I start working on that task till it brings me back to a different room. And then I work on that. That is just how my mind typically works. But I also know I'm most efficient when I just put down, I need to get this done now and do one task. So whatever your first step is, don't start thinking of all the stuff it's going to take, because there is a lot. But what is that first step? And focus on that one task and that one task only. That will help clear your mind and make you focused on the things to come. All right. I think I've gone through the stuff I wanted to highlight for tonight. The last thing I will say, and I've kind of said this, going through this process and doing all this stuff by no means guarantees success. I am not successful by my own means, but there's no chance. I have seen lots of moments where I've gotten lucky and things have fallen into place for me to allow me to be where I am today. But my high school baseball coach said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I think that's a great piece of wisdom as well. Because if you don't get those lucky breaks, you'll never get to kind of a high level of success as a performer. But if you keep working, those breaks will start to come more and more frequently. So hopefully this stuff helps. if you are tuned in again, there's actually people watching. I kind of can't believe that. It's like the first time you do a show and someone shows up and you're like, yeah, that's what this feels like right now. So thank you for tuning in. If you do like this video or you think it has good content, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends. We have a Facebook group page that should be linked in the description on this video. That's going to be a great place for people to chat and get to know the other people in this group and in this community, which is what I want it to be. I want it to be a community of people who are trying to make each other better. Right now, it is a lot of professional performers that I have met over the last few years of doing this. And a lot of them will be the people that are getting interviewed over the next year or so. One of those people who will be getting interviewed next week, which I am super excited about, is a guy named Cousin Curtis. And he is a local performer, musician, singer, all around stud in kind of the bluegrass. He calls it root stomp music. He is one of the hardest working, and that phrase gets said way too often in show business and performing. But I would stand behind it 100% with Curtis. He is one of the hardest working people I know in the music industry, just with the way he tours and puts in miles and travels all over the country. And so I'm going to sit down with him next week. He will be here in the studio, and I am going to focus a lot on how he has found success as a musician and touring. He lives one town over, but in a small town, especially for a full-time performer. And so he has made a living out of successfully being able to book shows all over the country, and does so more than anyone I know. He works way harder than I do. I know that much for sure. So Cousin Curtis will be sitting down next week to talk about that. So if you have music friends or musicians or singers that want to know what that looks like, make sure to share this with them. It'll be a great episode. He's one of my favorite people. So we'll just have some fun talking and hanging out here at Performer's Dream. But until then, thank you again so much for watching this video. Thanks to the couple of you that tuned in live. That means a ton to me. It really does. I have no idea how this thing is going to work out in the long run. But I told a mentor of mine today, he's like, what do you want out of this? And I said, if it helps one person, it's worth it for me. So I hope one of you that is watching, it helps you in some way, shape, or form, or anybody that tunes in the future. I hope this becomes a fun platform for us to help make each other better. So until next week, I'm Ty Gallenbeck, and we will see you next time on the Performer's Dream. Cue awkward moment where I have to lean in and click the end broadcast button. And then it takes forever. It's still going. Why? Shut off.